There is a law written into the fabric of the universe. As ancient as time, as present as breath, you reap what you sow. But what they don't tell you is the space between the sowing and the reaping can feel like death. It is in that space that most people break. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack desire, but because they mistook the silence for failure. They mistook the hidden work of destiny for abandonment. They believed the lie that if it was meant to be, it would have happened by now. And so they let go just before the dawn. But the truth is, the harvest belongs to those who do not grow weary in well-doing. There is a sacred weight to showing up when you no longer feel seen. There is fire forged in the soul of one who keeps building, keeps believing, keeps moving, when nothing outside them gives permission to. Look closely at every great soul that ever lived. They all walked through this fire, every last one. When Oprah was fired from her first television job, they said she wasn't fit for TV, but she kept going. When Howard Schultz pitched Starbucks to over 200 investors and heard no after no, he kept showing up. When Elon Musk watched 3 of his rockets crash into the ocean, carrying his dreams and his fortune with them, he didn't stop. On the 4th, SpaceX made history. This is not luck. This is not timing. This is persistence in the silence. What you are building may not be visible yet, but what is unseen is not unworthy. The roots grow before the fruit appears. The character grows before the crown arrives. The universe tests your hunger before it feeds your dream. And that test is not whether you can sprint in excitement, but whether you can walk in faith when the lights are out and no one is clapping. Because well-doing will not always reward you right away. It will drain you. It will cost you. It will strip away your comfort, your ego, your timelines, until all that's left is your conviction. That's when you find out who you are. Not when things are working, but when nothing is. It's easy to believe when the applause is loud. It's noble to keep believing when the room is silent. And that's what separates the world changers from the wishers. You see, the enemy of greatness is not failure. It's fatigue, mental fatigue, emotional fatigue, soul fatigue, the kind that whispers, "What's the point?" But what you do next in that moment is everything. Because the point isn't ease, it's endurance. The point isn't speed, it's surrender to the process, to the grind, to the fire that turns potential into power. You were never promised fast, you were promised fruit, if you do not give up. That's the difference between those who change their world and those who watch from the sidelines. Those who made it through weren't the smartest. They weren't the most talented. They just refused to let go. They got up when it made no sense to. They served the vision when it no longer felt glorious. They cried and bled and doubted and stumbled and still kept their hands on the plow. Because they knew something most never grasped, the well-doer becomes the world builder. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not in the moment of victory, but in the 1,000 quiet steps before it. They lived a truth carved in the spirit. Discipline is the bridge between sowing and seeing. And so they didn't look to the harvest to prove their worth. They let their worth fuel their work until the harvest came. And it always comes. Maybe not in the way you expected. Maybe not on the timeline you wanted. But the reward of well-doing isn't just the result. It's the transformation of you. Because when you don't grow weary, you don't just build the dream. You become the kind of person who can carry it. You become unshakable. Not because life didn't hit you, but because it did, and you kept moving anyway. You become grounded, not because you never doubted, but because you doubted and still didn't quit. You become wise, not because you never made mistakes, but because you didn't let your mistakes make you. The path of well-doing is not for the faint of heart. It is for the fire-hearted, for those who are willing to be misunderstood, overlooked, underpaid, and underestimated, and still choose to bring their best, not because they're guaranteed applause, but because they're committed to alignment. Their purpose matters more than their pain. Their mission matters more than their mood. Their calling matters more than the crowd. And so they stay the course. They work with invisible hands. They shape a future no one else can see. They pour into foundations that generations will stand on. You will know them not by their flash, but by their fruit. Not by their speed, but by their staying power. Because in the end, it's not talent that builds empires. It's tenacity. It's not excitement that brings change. It's endurance. It's not potential that wins. It's persistence. So if you find yourself in the middle of the wait, in the ache of the almost, in the quiet between the promise and the payoff, do not grow weary. Your hands may be tired, your heart may be heavy, but your harvest is near. And when it comes, when the doors swing open, when the vision materializes, when the world finally sees what you've been building in silence, you will know. It wasn't the breakthrough that made you great. It was your refusal to quit before it came.